Alright, now let's look at a middle game example. Okay, so we see a game that was played in 2001 between Grandmasters Boris Gelfand and Grandmaster Ioannis Papayan. This game was played in the European Team Championships in 2001. We catch up with the action after Black's last move, knight to d7. Okay. Now we are in the middle game, the early middle game. And in the middle game, there are two main plans. You have to find an object of attack, and you have to find that object. You have to attack that object with your pieces. Okay, so you find an object of attack, you attack that object with your pieces. So these objects of attack are weaknesses in the opponent's position. These weaknesses can be pawns, they can be squares, and they can be pieces. Regarding pawns, it is pawns that cannot be defended by other pawns, which are backward pawns. They can be isolated pawns, and they can be doubled pawns on the 5th and 6th rank, and sometimes on the 7th. You find you can attack pawns that are on the 7th rank. Okay, undefended pawns on the 7th rank. So you want to force them to be pushed, so they create backward pawns that are next to them. Regarding squares, any square that is in front of a weak pawn is a weak square. Regarding pieces, all undefended pieces. For example, if you have a way of attacking this bishop in Black's camp, it's not defended by any other piece, so it is a target. So the weaknesses and targets. Okay, what are we talking about? So these pawns, this pawn on b6 and this pawn on d6, they are backward because the A pawn cannot defend the B pawn. The D pawn cannot defend the E pawn cannot defend this D pawn because it is behind. So these are backward pawns. If attacked, they need pieces to defend them.
Yeah.
Okay. And these squares in front of these weak pawns are weak squares. Then we've got an example of a double pawns. They're one on top of the other pawn. Okay? These pawns, they cannot defend each other. They are doubled and they are isolated. There are no pawns on either side. Just because it's on the A file, so there's nothing before the A file. So these pawns are isolated, there's nothing on the B file. This one is backward, and the square in front of it, the D5 square is weak, the A4 square is weak. Now we'll get to back to our position. After knight to d7 by black, white plays rook to d1. So these pawns, the b6 pawn and the d6 pawn, are the weaknesses in the opponent's camp. So we want to attack these pawns with our pieces. So the bishop attacks the b6 pawn, white plays rook f to d1, putting pressure on the d6 pawn. Plus, rooks belong on open files. Remember the principle of the element of open lines. So rook f to d1, bringing a rook on a central file. Queen to b8. But here a question arises. Which phase of the game are we in? Okay, we just entered the middle game. Okay, white has connected rooks. So black, what do we do in the opening? Remember, we fight for central control. We develop pieces. We castle and we connect rooks. Black has not connected rooks. So maybe a move like queen to c7 connects rooks. Yeah. And it defends d6 and b6 at the same time. But he chose queen to b8. Okay. So after queen to b8, it is white to play. Alright? We want to put pressure on these pawns. So we stop the opponent's pieces from fighting for squares with us. So knight to a4 attacks this b6, the b6 pawn, which is defended by the knight. Now it's attacked by knight on a4 and bishop on e3. Again, you keep on putting pressure on your opponent's position, or your weak pawns, your opponent's weak pawns. Remember, you want to find weaknesses in the opponent's position, and you want to attack those weaknesses with your pieces. So this is what we see happening. Now queen to c7. So this move maybe should have just been played one time and then connect rooks. Now it took him 2 moves to get to queen to c7. Alright? Queen f2. Now you've got knight, bishop, and queen attacking this pawn, and it's defended by 1, 2. In chess, any point, if the number of attackers is more than the number of defenders, that point will fall. So this pawn is in danger of being lost. So what does white do? What does black do? Sorry. He advances the pawn so that, okay, it's not lost. Now, this pawn attacks the knight. The knight, we can take and open up for the rook, but after taking, this knight is still in danger. So what do? There's contact between pieces. Now, knight attacks the rook, and plus it's placing the knight on its most forward square, and it attacks the rook. So you cannot take the pawn because the knight takes here, attacking the queen. So there's contact between pieces. We focus on checks, captures, threats. Which type of position is this? When there's contact between pieces. When we focus on checks, captures, threats. Which type of position is this?
It's tactical position.
It's a tactical position, yes. Okay, knight take knight. It's still in tactics. A capture has been made. Bishop take. A capture has been made. Okay, the queen is in danger. Now the queen has to move out of danger. Now what to do? Okay. More contact. White advances the c pawn in order to open up for both rooks. This rook controls the d file.
Yeah.
If this one, the c file. So he wants to take more squares. The idea is now, okay, let's keep on gaining more squares. So black doesn't capture. He attacks the f4 pawn instead. Pawn take, pawn attacking bishop. Black cannot ignore. It's a lower valued piece attacking a higher valued piece. Then they capture. Now there's a bit of a problem here. White could take rook, take bishop, queen take bishop, and bishop here pins the queen. Skewers the queen and the rook. But then he loses a pair of bishops. He wants to maintain a pair of bishops as an advantage. But this pawn is in danger. What to do? So he initiates contact. Now he's trying to create a material imbalance. Okay? If the bishop captures, then white will capture with the bishop and he will be left with 2 bishops. Black will have a bishop and a knight. So that's a long-term advantage. This is the idea. So he initiates contact. If white doesn't capture, if black doesn't capture, then white is attacking this bishop anyway. So he wants to create a material imbalance. Bishop captures, and bishop captures back, attacking the rook here. So this bishop is threatening the rook. Rook to d8, fighting for the d5. Pawn to f5. So the idea is to advance the pawn to f6 so that white damages the pawn structure around the black king. Black defends. Okay, so he prevents this pawn from being advanced to f6. So he plays f6 himself. Now, in this position, if we are to use the principle of maximum activity, we'd place this bishop on b6, on its most forward square, attacking this rook, forcing the rook to take our rook. Then we'll take rook, capture rook back. So we've got our bishop on b6, our rook controlling the d file, and our queen here. The only piece that's not very active is this piece, which we could improve, like move to d1 or to b3. We could improve it. We could shift it to the queen side, then where it can start giving checks as well. 2 bishops, control of the d file, a bishop in black's camp. This would have been really a strong move. But in the game, rook to d5 was played. Now, black plays a piece on its most forward square, forcing an exchange of many pieces. Rook has to capture rook, otherwise white will lose a pawn. Queen captures, bishop captures knight. Now there's no longer that two bishops versus bishop and knight. That material imbalance is gone. Pawn takes bishop, and which phase of the game are we in now?
Endgame.
Yeah, material equivalent to the value value of a queen has been exchanged. So 3 minor pieces, 9 points. So we're in the end game, and in the end game there are two main plans. We push our passed pawns, promote them into a new queen, and we attack the opponent's weak pawns. This pawn is an isolated pawn. It has no pawn on the e file. There's no pawn defending it to defend it on the c file. It's on its own. It's like an island on its own, surrounded. There's no counterpart on the side to help defend it. Rook to d1, attacking the opponent's weak pawns. Rook and queen attacking this pawn, and we're in the end game. Then we'll get to now we'll go and explain what we're doing in the end game and show some examples.